Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Levine, the CEO of Koinos Group, and in today's episode of the Koinos Group podcast, I'm really excited to be interviewing Julian from Unifi Protocol. He's the CEO of Unifi, which is a protocol that's aiming to unite blockchains through decentralized finance. So Julian, could you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be working on Unifi?
Been in the crypto space now for quite some time, but formally started Sesame Seed in early 2018. And basically, when we started getting into launching the organization, we basically put up a Reddit post on forming a community around decentralized governance, basically encouraging the community to vote and participate in governance. And we kicked it off from there. And just that Reddit post alone turned into a pretty sizable community. And that community evolved over time to incorporate Ontology, Harmony, Tron, and Icon. And finally, just over the time span of doing that, we accumulated more development resources, more community resources, more volunteers, and et cetera. And having never raised funds, having never sold a token until late of 2020, we found ourselves in a very unique position in the DeFi space. We essentially had built a lot of the tools and functionality that was necessary to build this cross-chain AMM, and we just formalized that into Unifi in late 2020. So that's kind of how we got our start into the DeFi space. And since then, we've deployed on several more chains, and we're now on Ontology, Harmony, Icon, IoTex, Binance Smart Chain, Tron, Ethereum, with several others being worked on. And it's our intent to continue that same level of expansion.
Okay, so I guess you kind of explained what Unifi is as a cross-chain AMM, automated market maker. Could you go into a little more detail about that? Maybe talk about what makes Unifi different than, say, a more well-known AMM like Uniswap?
Yeah, sure. So we actually took a look back at the original Bancor documentation from 2014 when we first got into this. And we built that out into a very early version of this on Ontology in 2019. And basically what that was our first interpretation of that, which was very much similar to what Uniswap did. And when we came into 2020, we started looking at okay, well, we're building on some of these lower cost blockchains. We don't need to worry as much about gas fees and things like that. What kind of features can we build in? What kind of unique things can we do that basically take Uniswap and make it so we can reward liquidity providers in a more interesting way? What can we do to make sure that those rewards are more sustainable over time? And those are the changes that we started to make. So when you take a look at how we operate, we're actually providing liquidity providers rewards during every transaction that occurs. So you're accumulating a share of the transaction fees within every transaction. And the other thing that's kind of interesting about that is the reward that you're receiving is in this UP token, which is essentially a 100% reserved token that's backed by all of the rewards that are earned through the AMM. So it's a token that's minted every transaction that occurs, buy, sell, transfer. And what happens is that token is distributed to liquidity providers and can be redeemed for the native currency. If that's on Binance, that's BNB. If it's on Tron, it's Tron, ETH, etc. And it's interesting because we've applied a price discovery algorithm to that token itself. So what that means is over time, the backing, the tokens that the native currency that backs that UP token goes up over time.
Does this have anything to do with impermanent loss?
I think impermanent loss is really interesting because it's it's a problem that I don't think I've seen a solid solution to. A lot of the solutions that I've seen are, let's just mint a valueless currency and throw it at our liquidity providers and hope that the value of that is more than any impermanent loss they could suffer. And that's been the solution. And so people have minted valueless tokens, and they've done this, and it's worked. It's worked when it's working, I should say. The problem is
right, it's worked up until it stopped working. Right? The classic
exactly.
crypto solution.
Exactly. And so we kind of mimic that to some extent, but instead of it being a valueless token, we're basically throwing up at the users. And like I said, the up has a floor. It has a minimum redeemable value, and that minimum value goes up over time. So currently, I think one up on Binance Smart Chain can be redeemed for something like 7 plus BNB tokens, whereas it started at 1 to 1. So you're receiving this token as a reward that can kind of cover your impermanent loss, but then you're constantly considering, okay, what if that market crashes? Well, what if there's an issue and there's a huge run on that token? And for us, we still see some of that, but it's buffered because there's a minimum redeemable value. And so if there is a run on the token, it's never going to run below 7 point whatever, because you could burn it and get that much. So if you've participated over time, the longer you've participated within that pool, the more sustainable your gains are. That's kind of the intent that we had behind it. So does it fix the problem? No, absolutely not. But does it kind of buffer that and provide some level of insurance? I tend to think so. Now, impermanent loss goes way up from there. When you start looking at like some of the more advanced AMM functionalities, like multiple reserve currencies, which are super interesting, and I don't think that anybody is doing. Balancer to some extent is doing. That's where it gets super interesting, and you have really cool games that can be played with impermanent loss. And if you were to take the balancer concept of the old 2014 Bancorp papers and take that to the extreme, it puts you in a position where you probably could overcome impermanent loss as long as you were willing to accept other currencies.
The ways that we typically solve problems like this are often share a lot of the characteristics that you mentioned. First of all, introducing some kind of buffer, like it very commonly is the best solution. You're introducing some kind of barrier, and typically it enables the agents within the system to respond to some kind of event. And so you're not getting rid of the phenomena, but you're giving the agents or the actors an opportunity to respond. And the second way is kind of leaning into the phenomena and figuring out how you can use it within the system to the advantage. There's always these things that are like traits of the system, and you don't want to try to eliminate a trait because you risk kind of eliminating the system itself. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I think I'd like to go back and talk a little bit about your background and how you came to be working on this project. What motivates you to work on this project? Why do you care about this issue? Who are you?
Yeah, so like I said, up until 2018, I was actually an executive in the pharmaceutical manufacturing space. So actual making tablets, capsules, like encapsulation, that kind of thing, like actually in manufacturing. So I was doing that until I published this Reddit post that was pretty successful and got a lot of attention. And the space that I was in was kind of it's FDA, regulated, and it's the kind of space where innovation is encouraged, but it's challenging to innovate. And so you see these opportunities for efficiency improvement and ways to benefit people, but there's so much pressure against it. There's like no real ability to kind of expand on that. So after I published this Reddit post, I was just looking at the community's response, and I was thinking, wow, there's so much that can be done here. There's so much that you could do here to kind of like expand and open up the possibilities of governance specifically. That was my focus, and rewarding community or incentivizing community building. And so I had that post up, and within 3 months I had quit my job, and I was doing this full time. We had like I said, we didn't raise money. We didn't sell tokens, and we just started a volunteer team, and we just kind of all really committed to it, and put in a ton of time, and built this thing over the past few years. So when you look at my team today, my entire team is actually made up of people that I met on mostly Telegram and Reddit. The closest team member to me today is like 400 miles away or more, and none of them did I know before this. So we're a pretty decentralized team, and that's where we found our success. Incorporating these kind of different ideas, really listening and advocating for the community over time, and building in that direction. And we started seeing, we saw some success here and there as we were able to operate more nodes on additional networks, building out cross-chain swaps and things like that. Those were all great. But after we started really putting some effort behind smart contract development, cross-chain, DeFi, that kind of space, that's when things really took off, and we saw we were listed on Binance last year, and things went up from there. So it was great because I was able to go to my team, who was basically all volunteer until that point, and say, hey, let's do it full time. And you've got this team here where everything we've done today has been built in-house, designed, developed in-house from the ground up. And when you take that team that's been volunteer for years and you put them, full-time on a concept, we were able to roll out, blockchains very, very quickly, develop some new innovations very, very quickly. And that's been our success. And that's what's so motivating here is now we kind of, not only can we keep doing what we wanted to do, but we're incentivized to do that. We're incentivized to continue along this community governance path.
That's super interesting. I didn't realize how quickly, like, you told me the story, but I didn't realize how quickly you went from being that executive, making that post, and then starting down that path. That's pretty interesting. And yeah, there's so many parallels between our projects, but I guess in short, one of the things I love about crypto is how quickly things move, how quickly you can find like-minded people and begin working together on some kind of project. And having worked with these people for so long, I mean, I view that as one of the kind of killer features of Koinos Group. It isn't the technology, it's that we have all of this experience working together. We know we can ship. When you start a new team, when you start a new project, you really don't know whether it's going to succeed, whether you will be able to ship anything. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we see so many failures in the space, why we see so many people come out and be like, we're going to do amazing things. We have this person from Harvard and we have this person from,
dude, exactly. And it's so weird because there's like this ego of the industry of, oh, I fixed it. I solved staking. This is it. That's final, DAO, done. It never goes up from here. But you take a look back and the industry's what? Like, if I said it's 5 years, I think I'm being generous. And it's like, you're gonna develop a permanent structure within this industry after a few years that's gonna last forever? I don't think so. You got to have a team that and is flexible and capable of seeing these things coming down the road, and like has the foresight to go, ooh, let's steer into that. Let's steer into that direction and make sure that we're like ready to kind of take that on. And those are the teams that are going to kill it. You know, those are the teams that are really going to be successful.
Yeah. And the teams that start as volunteers, to your point, like we volunteered the last year of our lives to Coinos. That's a great way of filtering out people who aren't in it for the right reasons, who aren't truly passionate about the solution, and who aren't willing to do everything within their power to make it happen. So, okay, let's move on. You talked about incentives. You said you guys are incentivized to make this project work and make this project successful. I hear incentives. I think money. I think payment. How are they incentivized? How are you incentivized?
I think my team sees it the same way that I do. That I have no idea. But anyways,
I've been there, man. I say that I have to give that disclaimer all the time.
but from my perspective, this industry is brand new. It is so new. It's like, you know, I would say like there's so many industries that are considered new that are much older than this one. And I think that you can look at a lot of in, you know, the dot-com boom and kind of see what happened. And a lot of companies shot up and became huge and disappeared very quickly. But I think that what happened is during that boom, that's when a few people really established themselves and took a more conservative approach and really nailed down themselves as like, boom, we're like a staple within this industry. And I don't think that we've done that, but I think that that's what we want to do. And I think that that's really what the team wants. You know, the team wants to go, okay, like there's a bit of a boom going on now. I want to make it so we're here. Like I want us to be like established. So the incentive is that we leave this boom, and when you know, in a few years, when this becomes a more mature industry, we've established ourselves. And so the incentive is being an industry leader. The incentive that we have here, or the opportunity that's in front of us if we do things right, is to be an industry leader. If we make the right steps, we have the right foresight, we invest in infrastructure, we're conservative enough, and we focus on our team and community and our core tenants, I think we can establish ourselves as that, and that's constantly what we're discussing. So, you know, the product itself constantly evolves and constantly grows and matures and has. But I think that at the end of the day, we're trying to evolve with the industry, you know, and that's probably the incentive that I see.
It's just so strongly paralleled in what we're doing. The way that first of all, I agree with everything you said, the newness of the industry, the way that I think about it, and the way that we think about Coinos Group. And I could make the same disclaimer that it's how I think about it, and it's how I think my teammates think about it, is that if we want blockchain to be super successful, to be this dominant new computing paradigm that is infiltrating kind of every application that people are using, then you're going to need great companies. And where are the great companies? They're speaking to the newness of it. How do you know how new it is? Well, ask yourself, how many great companies are there? How many big companies that produce great products that people love using? You know, say what you will about Google, Amazon, Twitter, Facebook. They are big companies. They have thousands of people working for them. And I think it's fair to even say that they're great companies. You might not agree with their business model and things like that, but these are great companies. And if we want to displace those companies, if you truly don't like those companies, then what you need to do is create bigger, better companies that are blockchain native. And so I feel like I totally get what you're saying. There is a huge opportunity for, I mean, let's say there's going to be 5 to 10 many multi-billion-dollar business companies created on in the blockchain space that haven't been created yet. And we're not talking about companies that are just funded through an ICO. Like Block One is a very well capitalized company, but is it a great company? So my question to you is, your incentive is you want to build a great company. Totally get that. I see the opportunity. I see the market opportunity. So does that mean you have plans to make fiat revenue?
So do you mean actual income in fiat?
If you're going to build a great company, if you're going to
You're
pay
gonna
all
have to,
these
right?
engineers, how are you going to make that happen?
Yeah, you're gonna have to at some point, right? Either that, or you're gonna have to have a more stable way to convert, crypto into fiat, and that's kind of a tough one, right? And when I take a look at where we're investing right now, right, we're investing in the team, and we're investing in infrastructure, and what that means is legal, regulatory, accounting, tax, that stuff, the stuff that's the stuff that's like not fun, the vanilla stuff, but those are the things that count and matter. And when you start looking at US regulatory agencies, we want to be we want to be a point of reference. Like, we want a regulator to say, hey, do what these guys did, like, do that. That's who we want to be. And so that's where we're investing. And I think that it is possible to see fiat revenue in the future. That's definitely something that can come, but I think that we're going to have to see some further evolution of the space. I think that there's just some time to do that, and this all comes down to how we're preparing ourselves. And it's pretty simple to go on out there and fork existing projects and concepts and just build those. But I think that doing things yourself and trying to innovate yourself and taking time to invest in that direction, as well as in the regulatory side of things, that really builds the opportunity for the potential success. People that are just out there trying to run these more anonymous style businesses, there's certainly a place for that, but I don't think that those are the kind of businesses that are planning 5, 10 or more years out. Because how could they be? How could they be interacting with regulatory agencies, properly?
Yeah, I don't know how people use decentralized solutions where they don't know the people behind them. The very fact that they're decentralized, the very fact that there's all this opacity within the system, to me means I want to know more about the team. I want to know more about what motivates them. So if I'm a user, why should I consider using Unifi? What makes you guys special beyond what you've already said, cross-chain? Who's your ideal customer, user?
That's a good one. I think that we like to say that our ideal customer are people that are new entrants to the space, maybe less informed. We like to say that that's kind of our target, that we're trying to make things as easy as possible. But a lot of times it comes off like we're maybe making things a little more complex, and I'll give you a good example. We just started doing farming, which is, everybody knows what farming is. You stake your LP tokens and you make money off of it. But I mean, there's a lot of well-known and established ways to do that, but the way we're doing it is not like that. So you go on to Pancake or something. You can extract an LP token, you stake that LP token somewhere, and then you earn rewards off of it. But for us, we've really pushed the smart contracts. We pushed our own experience with those in our own development know-how to the extent that we're able to basically do farming without staking now. So if you just provide liquidity to the pool, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to give up custody. And I think that that's a huge factor. If you've got somebody new that's coming in, they don't know the risk of giving up custody of their LP tokens. They just see, oh, if I stake it here, I make more money. And it's like, yeah, but you're taking an AMM, a very complex impermanent loss style system, and then you're taking that derivative and putting it into another more complex system. And though that's become the norm, I think that it just ups that user's exposure. So I like to say we're trying to simplify things by saying that you don't need to do that. You can farm without giving up custody of your token. But messaging that properly is extremely important. And that's probably the challenge that we're facing today.
Again, I hear you. Developing more advanced, more simple solutions often makes them even more difficult to talk about accurately, because you're trying to be accurate, but it's something new, it's something different, and so I feel your pain. So is there anything else that you'd like to talk about publicly? Any other message you'd like to get out that you haven't yet had the opportunity to get out?
I think it's I think that probably the one thing that I don't really talk about, or that really doesn't come out too much publicly about us, is we're definitely trying to innovate, and we're trying to do what's great for our community and for people that are trying to participate within this space. We're pushing cross-chain AMM style swaps. We're pushing non-custody farming. We're pushing a lot of different things like that. But something else is we're definitely here to stay. Our plan is a lot of longevity, and we're very conservative when it comes to that. And we like to invest in our team and technology, and that is our focus. Is we are going to be keeping an eye out in the industry and continue to evolve with the industry, and that should be expected. I think sometimes that comes across as, oh, it's like, when is this going to come out? When is this going to come out? But in reality, things get slotted in constantly, and we're definitely going to look for those and capture those when we can and when we see them, just like this, non-custody farming.
Well, I look forward to seeing what you guys do. I would say never underestimate a genuine team who is passionate about what they're doing, and it seems like you guys are really genuine. I believe that you're gonna be here for a long time, and really there's not that many projects that I can say that about. So I look forward to seeing what you guys do, and maybe we should have more conversations like this. We could do a DeFi series of videos. So thanks again for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll talk soon.